Hey, it's InkdMage, and I have got another WizKids preview for you. This time, Pathfinder Battles, Impossible Lands. Let's dive right in. Okay, check it out. Pathfinder Battles, Impossible Lands by WizKids. Let's dive right into this big boy. We have the Umbral Dragon. And let's take a look there. We have the image. How does it hold up to the mini? I think it's pretty good. I don't know what an Umbral Dragon is. I haven't played Pathfinder in many years. I enjoyed Pathfinder, so I'm not disparaging it. It's just my group plays 5e D&D. But this dragon is tremendous. Why couldn't this be a dragon of your own design? Why couldn't you use it as a black dragon? Right? So this is an adult Umbral Dragon. And how does that compare in size? I mean, that is a massive dragon. It could be a gargantuan dragon. If you didn't have a gargantuan black dragon, you could use this one for a certainty, I think. I think the paint job's great. Looks tremendous. Next, we move to Impossible Foes. We've got the Phantom Knight, the Nosferatu Malefactor, Skeletal Attendant, Thrasfer. Let's see. I'm not even going to pronounce that. What? Unmvero. Some of the names are really challenging. They don't flow off the tongue. But that doesn't mean the minis don't look good. Let's start with these two incredible minis, because you can always have more skeletons in your horde, right? And I think these are really tremendous. And these aren't just your average skeleton, easily struck by your players. Look how well armored they are. You bump those up to a 20 AC. As usual, it wouldn't be an InkdMage video if I didn't comment on how much I love those clear bases. Look, I can see right through and see the detail of my mat. But these are really cool minis. This one is pretty wild. Look, the Skeletal Attendant. It's kind of like a sad sack. He looks like he'd be a lowly servant of a lich or some other, maybe a necromancer. He's like his toady, but he's a very good mini. I like this one a lot. I like the translucent ones. You know, they can be used for, I mean, listen, you could use it as a Phantom Knight. You could use it as a ghost. You could use it as a specter or wraith, or again, a creature of your own devising. But it's very cool. I love the Nosferatu. This, to me, strikes me as a mid-level, you know, 5th to 10th level big bad. You know, maybe the one who's been pulling the strings, but is having its own strings pulled by a greater power. Maybe that greater power is this unchained demon that had escaped. It's kind of like a chimera, right? It's got the head of like a reptilian bull, but it's got a fire-breathing, you know, dragon or serpent tail. That's really excellent and terrifying when you look at it. I know that this would be a great villain for your heroes of light to conquer. Here we have it. Looks like some sort of reptile or alligator that's undead. It's been eaten away, nibbled at by the fish in the river in which this swims. I'm not sure what this is. It's kind of like a hyper-realistic Arthur, you know, from the PBS show. But he's like grown up now and he's become a monk. And he's ditched the glasses for contacts. And rather than hitting the books, he's been hitting the gym and the dojo. Here we come to Masters of Magic. Now, to me, these look like villains. Maybe with the exception of this one. But let's start with that one. Doesn't look like a villain to me. This is a dwarf, I imagine. This could be like a battle queen or battle princess or an elite guard or a tremendous mini for a female dwarf fighter. Really like it. I don't know how practical the sandals are for for battle, but that's not a knock against WizKids. I mean, it's not even a knock against Pathfinder. It's just, this is the design, so they had something in mind. Since I don't know what that is, having not played Pathfinder or looked at the Impossible Lands story, I'm going to trust as good reason. But either way, it doesn't diminish the fact that this diminutive mini is tremendous. I like it. I like it a lot. Is this like an evil sultan summoning spectral heads? Look, you can see this kind of translucent, ghostly, material, this nebulous magic rising up and taking shape is heads. We've got, a leopard. It looks like some sort of black bird with a golden beak, a snake, and a fox. To me, this is a high-level enemy. So what about this one? This could be a servant. Maybe it's the master assassin of him. And maybe she's the stalwart guard. What is this? Maybe this guy has lands, and these are the rulers over the lands, and they all serve him. And this one is it's got like arrows, 3 arrows in one hand and 3 bows in its other hands. So imagine this thing is getting at least 3 shots per round and maybe 6, just to really mess with your players. Maybe if you're playing D&D 5e, long range doesn't count against him for disadvantage, and he can shoot around corners and through walls like an arcane archer. What kind of magic is this? Is it arcane? Is it divine? Maybe he is the high priest of this figure. Maybe this figure is actually even a demigod that walks the earth. And here, this could be an assassin as well. Maybe this is the general that leads the forces. This is the assassin for the Dark Lord. We got some low-level enforcers coming up. Maybe a diplomat. Look at how translucent this one is. His whole body is see-through. Is he half specter or wraith? So these Masters of Magic minis are really cool. They give me a lot of thought, for my next campaign. A lot of thoughts, and I think I'm going to end up incorporating some of this into my game. Maybe that I'm going to flesh it out. But I'm definitely thinking about this guy as the ultimate big bad, and why not? Here we have the Mukrati, I don't know. But it's like this insect, maybe with poisonous barbs on the end of its tail. It has 3 heads and can clearly spout out lightning damage. This is a gargantuan base, and you can see by having a medium creature up just how big this thing is. What a threat this would be. What if this was a creature that guarded the vault where the big bad kept his treasure, or perhaps an artifact or some sort of information that he didn't want the people to uncover? I don't know. Lots of possibilities and lots of reuse on this one. Here we have the accursed constructs. And I have to tell you something. If your first thought is that this looks silly, then you're silly. Think about it. A necromancer constructing this thing, not only maybe to serve as a guardian, but I mean, you could fit a mini up in here. Why couldn't this be an evil lich's throne? Now I have some seated minis that I could use. There's some Pathfinder. There was a couple seated minis, a king and queen. I could place them in there, and this could be their throne or their battle mount. How cool would that be? What a quirky and terrifying creature to put against your heroes. Think about the amount of damage these teeth would do. And then maybe players attacking, might take damage from these horns. I love this mini. I think it's really cool. And we're going to save the best one for last, or at least, in my opinion, what the best one is. Look at this magic using brass golem. Again, I don't know what it is because I don't play Pathfinder. But it's pretty cool. Look, these two are the same, just in different poses, which I really like. That's really great because you'd have them on the table, and then your players can easily identify which ones are going to attack and keep track of that. But these are some sort of construct guardians. But, you could also use them as fully armored Goliaths, right? If you wanted to play a fully armored Goliath. I think they're great. And this one, it's like a construct assassin. Look how sleek. The sword built in to its arm. It has no need for a hand. It was built for dealing death. And hopefully your players survive and defeat it. Because, I like when the good guys win. But I like that mini. So this thing looks like a creature of flesh. It says it's a construct. This could be a celestial defender or a creature or a golem or construct, right? Guarding an ancient tomb. I like that his arms are folded. He's like, all right, come on, I dare you to come in. Because I've got these other two swords here just waiting. I like this little guy. He's like a little Warforged spy. And that red eye. He has like a real retro vibe. Like I've seen this like on the cover of a 50s or 60s or 70s sci-fi novel. I like that mini a lot. But my favorite one out of the accursed constructs is the sword keeper. You can see there's a sword inside chained. And you can see there it is, a sword chained. And then all these swords are like spectral versions of that sword. So you can channel the magic of the sword, perhaps, to defend the sword it's guarding. So imagine finding this inside a great treasure vault, and you think you've won the day, you've killed all the obstacles and disarmed all the traps. But then when you go to claim the magic sword, there's one last guardian. That's a very cool set. So Pathfinder Impossible Lands, so I'm sure that's a adventure path. It's a storyline that Pathfinder is running. I'm not familiar with it. I played Pathfinder 10 years ago when I ran the Skull and Shackles campaign, which I loved. And I played some Pathfinder as a player, and I really liked it, but we moved on to 5e, and that's just what we're doing now. So I encourage you, whether you play Pathfinder or D&D or whatever, Savage Worlds, whatever game you play and you need tabletop fantasy minis, I think these are really cool. So let's do one last pass. Right on. Now, as I've said, I haven't played Pathfinder in a while, so I'm not familiar with all of these creatures and heroes and villains, but that doesn't mean I can't use them in my D&D games. In fact, a lot of times, even with D&D monsters, I'll make up my own creatures and use the figures. So I love the variety, and I love that there's creatures that my players have never seen before, so I can make them anything I want, and it'll be a surprise for them. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram for some extra XP as I take you through my D&D exploits.